everyone, welcome back to Wolf Talk. My name is Gab Leonetti. I'm the marketing director for WCRE, and today we are meeting with the man, the myth, the legend himself, owner and founder of Wolf Commercial Real Estate, Jason Wolf. Thanks for coming on.
Hi, Gab.
Hi.
Pleasure to be here.
So what inspired you to start WCRE, and was there a defining moment that had you officially take the leap in starting it?
Yes. For me, well, my first job after college, I worked at the top 3 corporate real estate firm. And I was there for almost 17 and a half years.
A long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
First job out of college. You don't see many people out of college that stay working.
For 17 years,
no.
no.
As I became more successful in my career, you learn that it's not always about money, right? Happiness is not defined by money. Happiness is defined by the journey, the growth, evolving. And I got to a point in my career where none of that was happening anymore. On top of that, after my first trip to Israel, that was probably my tipping point moment where I said to myself, if you're going to do something, now is the time to do it, right? That was kind of like my moment in time to say, I'm going after this.
Yeah.
And that really, inspired me to say, hey, if you're going to take a chance in life, do it when you're young. I was 40 years old. I put everything on the line, my family, my kids. Leaving work was hard. It was like going through a divorce with people I worked with for 17 years. It was very emotional. But I will tell you, I have no regrets today.
And you never looked back.
Yeah, never looked
13
back.
years
13
now, right?
Years now.
So when you started WCRE, is your vision the same now as it was then when you first started? Has it evolved? And how has it evolved?
Right, great question. Yes, it has definitely evolved. I would tell you that when I first started WCRE, I remember like it was yesterday, I was sitting actually in a hospital with my stepfather and my mom, and I made the mental decision to leave. And I remember designing all my logos. And I remember having 25 different logos, different things. Some had a wolf animal, some didn't, whatever.
Right.
And what I envisioned at the time was to be the best commercial real estate service provider in the South Jersey area.
Right.
That's my bread and butter, where I made my success. Fast forward to today, it was me and a logo in 2012.
Right.
Today we're 25 plus people, and we're in Jersey, PA, in New York. And we have really built a vertical with not only brokerage and advisory services, but we also have a full service property management company.
Right.
I was not envisioning that day one to be where we are today.
Absolutely. And it's funny, I started almost 5 years ago, and even our property management, like you said, we only had a few buildings at the time when I started, and now we're over what? How many square feet that we're managing?
Pushing 2 million square feet.
So it's really interesting to actually see it alongside of you.
And
grow.
It's all been organic.
Right.
This has all happened
absolutely.
Internally. It definitely it's exceeded my expectations, but you also learn when you're an entrepreneur that when you continue to grow in life, you want to keep growing.
Yeah.
Right? And
right. You don't want to just stop at the ceiling.
I don't want to stop and just say we're good and we're complacent. I love things when they just keep growing.
Yeah.
People, businesses, professionals, whatever it is, but you want to keep evolving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So with evolving, obviously there's always challenges, right? What were some challenges that you faced, or that you have faced in the past, or more recently that you've been able to overcome as an owner?
You're asking really good questions.
I'm stumping you.
Look, obviously the obvious one is COVID.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
COVID was definitely that that period of time where you either got punched hard and you couldn't get up, or you got punched hard and you got up and you made something out of it and you learned from it, and you're going to see my theme. You pivoted.
Right.
We pivoted.
Yeah.
We pivoted hard, and we evolved, and we implemented a lot of things within our firm that did not exist pre-COVID.
Right.
On top of that, I think anyone that runs a business will tell you that people is the hardest part of the business.
Right.
Managing people.
Yep.
The HR component, whatever you want to call it. And I always preach to our sales team, as you know, use a lot of sports analogies, it's always about your locker room.
Right.
And when you have a locker room of people that are not all in sync, right? You're going to have free agents. You're going to have trades. You're going to have people who want to quit. It happens.
Yeah.
It happened to us early on.
Yep.
And I think really since COVID and our evolution of a firm and people, a lot of people were maneuvering during COVID, right?
Yeah.
So for us, it's having the right people in the locker room, which I'm blessed today to say. We'll talk about, I'm sure, more, but it's 100% people, and I think COVID were the two biggest things I learned from the growth of this company.
That makes sense. Especially because like you started after kind of like the initial market crash in 2008. So WCRE was founded 2012. So like it's not like you had to necessarily deal with the repercussions of that. But COVID, you know, when that happened, all of the rates, everything started. Now everything has gone up, has been inflating, and we're all kind of pivoting and learning from that. It's a whole nother challenge.
That we, you know,
absolutely.
When January of this year, everybody thought we were up and away, new president. And now, you know, we're doing this video today, the day after the tariff announcements, and the markets are in turmoil. So you got to learn how to adapt and evolve. And there's a positive out of this, whether you want to get political or not. The positive is for our business, interest rates are plummeting. Right?
Which is going to help with investments and things like that.
Correct.
I know you mentioned managing different personalities and people, and that being a big challenge, right? As far as culture goes in WCRE, what have you seen and done to make the best culture here? And when you first started, like, have you seen a shift in culture?
Oh gosh, yeah. You know, it's funny. We're of the 25 people we have here, 2 are still OG. So when I started today, it's not the same people.
Oh, absolutely.
And it goes back to my baseball analogies about winning a championship team in locker rooms, and you know, it always will come down to having the right people. And not that I had bad people in the past.
No,
But when things are vibing and clicking and you have the right people, you're unstoppable. And it took us really, COVID, that shift started of changing.
Absolutely.
And you know, I look today at, you look at our culture, and it's a big part of my vision when I started the firm, but we have 6 women in this firm now. And you know, there were many years it was just 1 woman. And you know,
for a while it was 2, and then it was 3.
So you know, and I'm grateful for that. In a business dominated by men, right? To have women here that eat, breathe, sleep what I love to do, and I truly believe that people here love what they do. It's really a blessing, and I'm really happy about that.
And I think it gives like a different perspective too. You know, it's not always like the same perspective. There's a softness, or there's, you know, a level of the way that we approach things or handle things differently than
you get caring, sensitivity, you get emotion,
empathy.
You're getting empathy, you're getting the
ability to multitask and move things around all at once. That makes sense.
So culturally, I'm thrilled with where we are culturally today. Our culture is incredible. I love our people. You know, another thing we're proud of as part of our culture is we give back, right? So community commitment is a big part of our culture. And I think just about everybody here is somehow, in some way, connected to the communities they work in.
Absolutely. Speaking of community commitment, just a little plug, we do have our 8th annual golf outing coming up. That's going to be on June 26th at 12 p.m. So if you want to sponsor or register for a foursome, you can go to our website, or you can email me direct. I'll make sure that I'm all involved in our little posts today with my email. But I agree with you. Last year we were able to raise $100,000. We were able to divvy that up between 6 local nonprofit organizations. And one of the things I think when I left where I was previously was very heavily community committed. And leaving that, like you said, anytime you leave a job that you love the people and you care and you genuinely it's like a divorce essentially, right? But leaving there, I chose WCRE not just because of, you know, wanting to make a change for me and my family, but also a part of that was the community commitment side of things. Like seeing that we were that involved in all different areas of our community was huge to me, and it spoke to me a lot. And I love that we do a food drive every year. We do all little different sponsorships throughout the year for different, nonprofit organizations, and it's really important. And that does make a huge difference in culture.
It defines our culture.
Yeah.
If you were to peel the real estate piece out of what we do, I don't think there's anyone on the street that knows us that would not, they would all agree that we are a community driven
100%.
And that's the part that, you talk about the passion and the love and all that stuff, but when you see a community embrace what we're doing.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
for 13 years, I've seen between the nonprofits that we support, they're all incredible. I love them. I've learned from them. They mentor me. We've all, and then our golf outing, we get 150 golfers
every year.
Every year it sells out.
And sometimes I have to add more people on, and I'm like, I can't. I'm sorry.
And for those that know me, I'm an emotional guy. I wear my heart on my sleeve all the time. It's how I've always been. But when you see those people come to the golf outing, or back before COVID, we were doing the hockey events, or our food drive, everyone in this community supports what we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody. And every year I worry, are they going to do it? Are they going to show up?
I know.
And they always show up and support us.
And we're always we're always booked, which is great.
I think it's a testament to us as people.
Absolutely.
I think people know that we're sincere and we're genuine and we care, and it's not always just about work.
No, absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I know that we talked a little bit about culture. How does your leadership style and your mentorship, how does that play a role in culture within WCRE, and who were some of your biggest mentors?
Let's answer the second part first.
Okay.
I have been very lucky in my life to have good role models and mentors. I am a product of a divorced family. So my parents got divorced when I was barely 2. My mom and my dad are still alive. I have relationships with both, but there was definitely growing up, there was disconnect.
Yeah, absolutely.
So at a very young age, being part of a divorced family, my brother and I were always super tight.
Yeah.
Still to this day. We're 2.5 years apart. Super tight, talk multiple times, sometimes a day, sometimes a week. By far one of my biggest mentors in my life. He's also in the real estate business. He's in the manufactured housing business. Had a great career, worked in corporate America, worked for Sam Zell, who's a big real estate tycoon that just passed away from Chicago. He worked for GE Capital back in the day doing debt and equity financing. So I always had a good real estate role model to guide me on my journey in my first job after college and here at WCRE when I went on my own. So my brother Joe by far is a big mentor in my life. My father's a big mentor because he was also in the business. But additionally, I have probably about on 5 fingers I can tell you clients who are clients of mine, personal friends of mine that I've known for almost 30 years.
Yeah.
There's a couple well-known office building owners in our market who have held my hand throughout my career. Watched me navigate leaving a firm, going to a new firm, and I was panicking going, oh my God, this is going to be the hardest thing I ever did, and everyone had full belief in me, and they guided me, and they coached me along the way. Your first part of your question, leadership style, I'm an open book, and I try to deliver that message to everyone, to always, say how you feel, and anyone that knows me, where I'm going.
I know where you're going with this.
Everybody that knows me that has joined this firm from our first meeting, I have a policy. Okay, and the policy is called. The point of the policy is, I want you to be able to speak to me exactly how you feel. If you're having a bad day, or if I'm not being nice to you, or something's going on, I want you to speak up. If the client tells you the building's worth $150 a foot, but everyone in the world knows it's only worth $90, I expect you to tell them it's worth $90. You better back it up. Right?
Yeah.
So that is kind of how I coach my team to win. Be themselves, keep it real. And also, I can't do it all myself anymore. So as the company has gotten bigger over the years, we put a program in place where we offer coaching for our team. So we have mentor coaching on our team, and I think we're probably about 15 people in the firm now that are getting coached. Typically, it's an hour, 2 hours a month for each person, and some are 4 years later, still being coached and mentored and guided by other people, just by me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great. It's a great like addition to have. I've
Right.
used him, and it's helped me, as you know, like find my voice, you know, and be able to keep myself accountable and guide. You're essentially, it's like your guide. Or like if you're in a situation, sometimes I'll call him and I'll say, hey, I don't know how to handle this. Can you walk me through it? Because maybe it's me. Maybe I'm overreacting or overreading or vice versa. And it's all from a professional to personal level, because as much as we say that doesn't intertwine, it does.
Yeah, it does.
So, yeah, I think having that is really important.
Yeah, and I also, talked about our culture before, but a big part of our culture is the people.
Right.
And there's plenty of people in our firm that help mentor the younger people.
Absolutely.
And there's some of the younger people that are mentoring the older people.
Right.
And I think that's what's really helping us continue to grow as a team.
Mm-hmm.
We're all here to help each other.
Yeah, and it's helping everybody have like different perspectives and fresh perspectives as well as experience.
Right.
So we talked a little bit about culture, your start, on how you became who you are today in WCRE. And then we also talked about leadership. So I want to pivot a little bit and get more into the nitty-gritty of commercial real estate. What trends are you seeing right now in commercial real estate, and how are you seeing our team adapt to the change?
It keeps changing.
Forever changing, right?
I fasten your seatbelt because it does keep changing.
Yeah.
Look, we've gone through a couple rapid cycles over the years. So the COVID cycle was everyone's leaving office space, right? They're working from home, they're hybriding. Companies were adapting their workplace model, and also industrial started booming.
Yep.
Right? So industrial valuations almost tripled over the last 5 years. Office spaces started emptying out, so we had to adjust to that.
Right.
Retail during COVID came to a screeching halt also.
Yeah.
And now retail is one of our hottest asset
It
classes.
is.
So, that was during COVID, and now that COVID's over and we've normalized, everyone's adjusted, pivoted, adapted, evolved, grown. Here we are 5 years later, literally 5 years as we talk.
Yep.
March of, this is April, early April, but it's been 5 years.
Really, it's been 5 years.
And now the hot button is RTO, return to office, right? So every major corporation, they're all announcing coming back to the office. Office demand is slowly picking up.
Yep.
We started seeing it really aggressively picking up in November. After the election was over, I think everyone was like in a holding pattern to see what happened politically. And then once we knew where we were heading, office space demand started picking up.
Yeah.
You see a rapid increase in office space demand. Tenants are expanding again.
Right.
We are seeing a flight to quality for office space.
I was just gonna say,
So
I know
if
that's
you're,
been a big talk.
if you're an A-class building owner and you have a trophy asset and it's well maintained and well kept, and you're evolving your building to adjust to the employees, you're gonna win.
Right.
Those buildings are all full.
Right.
Out here, they're all full. If you're a C-class building owner and you haven't put any money in your building since the late 80s, early 90s, you're seeing that tenants are going to leave.
Right.
They're going to
Because they're
go
gonna
to
go to
higher
the Class
quality
A.
space,
Yep.
Class A, cater to their employees, what they want. Good environments create great productivity.
Right.
Bad environment,
You're not going to get the same.
you're not. And so that's the trend we're seeing right now. That'll continue.
Do you really quickly, do you have like any advice for somebody that does have a Class A, or I'm sorry, a Class C building or a Class B building that can help them shift? Aside from like, just like updating, what are some things that you would say to an owner that is looking to retain their tenants?
Well, that's exactly it. You basically gave me the answer. So every building owner, we do a lot of landlord representation.
Right.
It's always been my biggest skill set. And I always tell the owners, you need to be tenant friendly and you need to be broker friendly. And the minute you stop doing either of those, you're in trouble, especially in a small suburban market where everybody knows everyone.
Yep.
So, there's landlords here that we go, great landlord, loves their tenants, has personal relationships with the tenants, respects the brokerage community, they don't nickel and dime,
Right.
they put money back into the buildings, they're involved in the community they work in. Those are the ones that are winning.
Yeah.
The ones that are squeezing pennies and putting Band-Aids on buildings and not reinvesting,
Yeah.
they're getting destroyed.
Yeah.
and they're the ones that are in trouble. Banks are, foreclosing on buildings. Lenders have owners that are 7, 8, 9 months in default for making mortgage payments because their buildings are emptying out.
Right.
The tenants are flying to other buildings.
Yeah.
So that's a big trend. Banks are slowly starting to lend money on investment deals.
Yeah.
The last 3 years, the investment market was basically non-existent.
Right.
It was tough.
Right.
And we do a lot of investment work. It's probably 20% of our business. So when interest rates were going up, values were going down, and sellers weren't adjusting their pricing.
Yep.
And the days of 2-3% money, it's over.
Yeah.
Right. So we had to adjust to that. Now sellers are adjusting their valuations. Banks have started to slowly trickle their way back into lending. We just closed on a major investment deal literally this week.
Yep.
And it was hard to get financing.
Yeah, it started out as a larger portfolio,
correct.
and then we broke it out into smaller,
Right.
and it's actually, it's
Right.
starting to, the things are pivoting,
Right.
and
So,
you can see that.
And owners, sellers, they have to listen.
Yep.
If they're getting advice, you can't be stubborn in this market.
No.
It's because it's quickly evolving.
Yeah.
So
Do you have any other, I know you mentioned like retail and you mentioned industrial, and I know that industrial was very hot for a while. Are you still seeing it on the same trend? Do you think it's slowed down? If it's slowed down, do you have any idea why? Can you speak to that?
I think big box demand has slowed down. So
Right.
if you're north of 100,000 feet, that part I think has slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
The demand for tenants looking for 10
to 20, right?
10
Yeah.
to 50,
Mm-hmm.
there's little inventory and the demand is still strong.
Mm-hmm.
We have multiple requirements in our firm right now.
Right.
We're having trouble sourcing opportunities.
Yeah.
Demand's high, prices are still going up for the smaller stuff, which is amazing. Buildings that were trading at $40, $60 a foot are now going for $150 a foot.
Which is crazy.
Higher than office buildings.
Yeah, that's
Okay?
insane.
It's
a lot.
So, and I think there was the last few years was a lot of spec development industrial. So now you got to absorb that space on top of it.
Right.
So it's slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
Leveling off.
And now retail is like booming as well. I mean, I know we talked a little bit about that, but we are like going crazy over retail.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, shopping centers, it's the land use, right?
Yeah.
It's the development side of things as well that, is a big deal. And I feel like I'm doing a new brochure every day for that. It's insane.
It's crazy. We had very little retail presence. When we started WCRE, we were known as an office firm.
Right.
And I think what people don't understand, or if you don't really know us, we may have more retail opportunities than we do office opportunities here as a firm.
Yeah.
So we've grown aggressively under great leadership in retail. Office, we've always been a staple.
Yep.
And industrial, we're doing fine, but it's hard to find product.
It is,
so it's
especially
hard
in
to
our
grow
area
that. It's hard
too.
to grow it.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. So we talked a little bit about the trends in commercial real estate, how we've grown from office, to retail, and I'm curious to know, like, as far as with AI and tech and everything else that's like starting to boom in 2025, with even just from a marketing perspective, what are you seeing as far as tech and those types of AI trends and things like that in commercial real estate? And I know how I'm implementing it, but how are you implementing it? How are you implementing it within the firm?
I am grateful for ChatGPT. Again, things are happening quickly, and nobody was talking about AI 2 years ago.
Right.
And I sat at a board meeting a year ago, and a consultant from PwC, who's an expert in AI, was speaking. So another baseball question, sports analogy. I said to the consultant, I got to ask you a question. If we're playing baseball in a 9-inning game, what inning are we in with AI? And
That's a good question.
you know what her response was? We haven't even left the dugout yet.
Wow.
Which means we're not even in the first inning.
It's crazy.
Right? So I have a son, my son Nathan is big into technology, as you guys all know. And I'm lucky when I go home at night or I talk to him on the phone, I've learned about AI. I've learned a little bit about coding and designing and all these things. And we implement technology in our firm, as you know.
Yeah.
We use AI I use AI.
Yep.
I use it to help me edit documents.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm doing reporting, if I'm doing an email that I'm not comfortable with,
Right.
I can go in there, sending this email, I need to get a point across that states X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, polish
Can
it.
you help me polish it up?
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll go, oh, that sounds a lot better. Then I can cut and
Yep.
paste. Then I'll continue to edit it until it gets to the point where I like it.
Right.
So I think everyone in our business is now using AI
Yeah.
at some level to just help do communication
Mm-hmm.
work.
Yep.
And some people take it to a whole other level with graphics
Yeah.
and mapping and all you do a
Yeah.
lot more probably than I
Yeah.
do, but it's part of what we are. We invest in it. We have platforms that we're starting to use. I love technology. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a great way. I use it, obviously, like ChatGPT, we use all the time. But I actually sometimes will use it for other things too, in helping me, like for SEO purposes, like search engine optimization with Google. And, sometimes if I can't figure out, a logo or what I want it to look like, we'll use even that. We'll ask it to create like a logo or a graphic, and it really is very, very smart. It's not always the greatest, because it's still learning, but it really is important to have those things, especially when you're trying to sometimes there's different random things that we have to do in marketing, or even when we put books together and we're trying to shift and we're trying to win that business and that pitch. It's like, it's kind of nice to have that
I agree.
layout.
If you go back to one of your earlier questions to me about my vision
Mm-hmm.
of WCRE when I first started, just hit me though. But one of the main reasons when I left, I saw a major shift
Mm-hmm.
in technology, social media,
Yep.
SEO, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. All these platforms started evolving.
Right.
Keep in mind, it's 13 years ago.
Right.
So my old firm, the leadership, they weren't embracing it.
Yeah.
They were older,
Right.
generational gaps, they
Yep.
weren't embracing it. And I'm like a caged animal. I want to
You're like, let me go
let's
out.
go out there. So for us as a firm, another part of our marketing strategy when I started WCRE was we want to be best in class in
Yep.
our marketing. We want to be best in class on our social
Mm-hmm.
media. We want to have the best SEO strategy.
Yep.
We want to have a beautiful website. We want it to keep growing and evolving and investing in it. And anyone that knows me, when I pitch my business to
Mm-hmm.
clients, real estate part's easy, right?
Yeah.
Anyone can open the doors and do all that, but what's your value add?
Right.
And the value add for us is the platform.
Yeah.
It's the services, it's the team, it's the social media. And I know I can go to bed and go, in my little bubble of real estate that I play in, I believe we are the best.
We're doing it. Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
And I think our team does too.
Yeah.
And our clients do. And that's the message I try to get across
Yeah.
with technology too.
Agreed. It had an all-encompassing conversation about commercial real estate, about WCRE, our community commitment, our leadership. But I want to ask you some personal questions and get fun. Down to the nitty-gritty, right? So if you weren't in real estate, what would you have done? If you've never, right out of college, you never went into the firm that you were at before, never created WCRE, what would you be doing today?
So what I do know about myself
Mm-hmm.
through all my years with soul searching is I love to be around people.
Mm-hmm.
Since I was this big. I was always a street kid growing up in a divorced family.
Mm-hmm.
My brother and I had businesses, car wash businesses. I caddied. For those that don't know, I caddied a Marion Golf Club for 6 years, which I'm very proud of. And
You make connections that way. A lot of people don't realize that.
That was 1985 to 91, so
Yeah.
it was like 13 to like college, high school
Yeah,
years.
but it's great.
But what I learned the most was how good I was with people.
Mm-hmm.
I was never the smartest kid in the room, but I was definitely the street smartest kid in the room.
Yeah.
And that taught me like brokerage is about people. So what would I be doing today if I wasn't in real estate is the question.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people I'd probably be doing some sort of financial advising,
Okay.
which I love.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of my passions is following the business markets,
Right.
and the stock market, and equities, and investing, being entrepreneurial.
Right.
So something that has an entrepreneurial flair for sure.
Okay.
But probably something financial related. I always wanted to own a restaurant because I'm a foodie, but restaurants are a lot of work.
It's a lot of work,
And
a lot of overhead.
Yeah, it's a lot of overhead.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it.
I always want to be the guy to walk out the bottle of wine,
Yeah.
pour the wine, how's your dinner?
Right.
But it's a lot of work. And I have
Here's
friends.
a little
I have a
aperitif.
good friend of mine owns Sabrina's Cafe.
Yeah, yep.
And
Love him.
And Robert's the greatest
He
guy.
is, he's great.
He works so hard.
It's a
He's super
lot,
successful,
yeah.
proud of him, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. Especially like seeing it on the back end, you're like,
It's a lot of
ooh,
work.
yeah.
And you got to maintain everything.
Right.
You got to
Yep.
keep the quality consistent. So I'd say something probably
More finance.
finance related, investing related somehow.
Okay.
Definitely with an entrepreneurial flair, no matter what.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. I like that. What's some advice that you would give to someone that is younger that's looking to break into the commercial real estate industry, or just in general as like an entrepreneur? Since you talked a little bit about that.
So over the years, we've hired a lot of young people,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen a lot of young people come and go.
Mm-hmm.
I have a daughter that's young; she's 23, just going into the working world, and I give her advice 24/7.
Right.
So what I will tell you is the same thing I tell my daughter, or the same thing I would tell anyone that comes to this company. No matter what you do in your job, you gotta love what you do.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't love it, it's gonna come off.
Right.
We're gonna feel it.
Right.
So you gotta have a passion and love what you
Mm-hmm.
do. I'm a big loyalty guy.
Mm-hmm.
Big. I love loyalty. I love commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Right. My first job out of college, we talked earlier, was 17 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
I graduated June of '95 and I left in 2012. One job.
It's crazy.
Loyal. Right? So I struggle personally, which I'm working on my
Mm-hmm.
own. It's different today than it was
Yeah.
then. Kids today, younger professionals, they bounce around.
Yeah.
So when I see a resume and someone's joining and I see it's their 4th job in 2 years,
Yeah.
it's a red flag.
Right.
For me it is.
Right.
So I tell my daughter the same thing. I want to see commitment. I want to
Yeah.
see loyalty. So I tell the young kids that a lot. As it relates to advice in this business, it's not easy. You have to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You have to embrace the challenge or you will not succeed.
Yeah.
And it takes easily 3 years till you see the fruits of your labor in this
Yeah,
business.
because you have to like build
Yeah.
your pipeline.
So it's better to start young
Right.
than older. So when I first started, I graduated Temple as a real estate and business law major. I was delivering pizzas 3 nights a week as I was brokering at my old firm because I was brokering and broke. I had no money. Right? So I had to find ways to make ends
Supplemental.
meet. Right?
Mhm.
So I was making $300 delivering pizzas on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. Put a little money in my pocket.
Yeah.
So you got to hustle.
Yeah.
For me, I like to see hustlers that want to go after it. You got to hustle and you got to be proactive and you got to want to learn and grow. So I always say that. But I think the most important thing that you read in any book that's ever written is you got to love what you do and you got to be passionate.
Yeah.
Right? And then it'll show. And the ones that we have today that are young in our firm, they are amazing.
What drew you? What was the spark that, you can give an example.
Yeah, I think when you meet people, they say don't judge a book by its cover, but you also have to judge a book by its cover a little bit.
Yeah.
Some people are going to walk into a room and just like that, they're going to have that certain
energy.
They're going to have that certain energy or je ne sais quoi, right? They're going to have something that goes, that person's a little different.
Yeah.
He's a little different. I
like
like that,
Mhm.
right? Then the ho-hum, boring person,
Yeah.
you yell boo, and then, so Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you kind of know
Yeah.
as you go through the game of life with people, you learn. So yeah, I don't know if that.
What are 3 words that you would describe WCRE? How would you describe WCRE in 3 words, I guess I should say?
Can I answer it twice?
So 6?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fine. Okay, I'll give this a shot. So, when we started the company, I had a slogan, and it's on everybody's business card.
Yep.
It's on our website. You know what it is already. And the 3 words would be building successful relationships. Play on words, but it's all true. Building, real estate, building, right? But also building successful relationships. And that's really the core to who we are.
Yeah.
Right? I believe in relationships, clients become friends, they become part of your family.
Absolutely.
And there's no greater joy in this business. And for all the young people out there, I will tell you that this, after 30 years of doing this, I can't believe it's 30 years. I have clients that saw me when I was 23 years old and I couldn't rub two nickels together. And they still have my back today. And we've done so many deals together and they keep calling me. Because you built that relationship, the trust has been established, the love is there. It's not a one-way street where you go show me the money.
Right.
It is a total two-team collaboration effort to grow.
Yeah. And people want to work with people that they like, they know,
Absolutely.
and that they trust.
Yeah. So those are my true 3 words for WCRE. As if you ask me to describe WCRE from the outside looking in, not using those 3 words.
Yeah.
Community, love, 4, passion. but we're crazy. We're fun and crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we see it every day.
Yeah. So, we try to keep it real here.
Yeah.
Real.
No,
real.
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 If you could have one word, it would
Real.
be real.
If I had one word, it would be real.
It would be real. Yeah. I like that. I think going from even though where I was from previously wasn't necessarily it was a construction company, but we internally, even though it was a 250 employee construction company, internally we were very corporate. Externally, not so much. You're dealing with construction guys. But going from that to coming in and my first interview being the FU policy, and what would you say to me if I said FU and I just said FU back? Right. That was the most awkward interview I've ever had in my entire life. But I was like, I could be here.
But you understood it.
I understood it, and it was that's where I want to be, right? That's the type of company that I want to be in. And watching everybody, like you said, even though, I've been here for 5 years and having built relationships with all of the brokers internally, and now, getting to meet some of the people that we deal with, some of the owners and some of, you know what I mean? And being able to get on calls.
By the way, I've watched you evolve. How many years we've been together?
Almost 5.
Right. I've watched you evolve. You've watched me evolve.
Yeah.
But as the leader, which there's other people like to say the boss, which I hate.
Yeah.
Aaron likes to call me the boss to push my buttons.
Yeah.
But it makes me feel really good to watch people evolving and growing.
Right.
And that's success to me.
It's
not the money.
Yeah, and I think that's what we do very well here, is that we take some of these fresh faces, or some people that may have, not been as appreciated where they were before, and we take them, we come and we bring them here, and we keep it real, as you say. And honestly, it helps people have that fluid conversation and continue to build those relationships internally, trust and externally. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, we have clients who I can yell at. I'm yelling at my own kids.
Yeah.
And these are clients that I love. And you know what? They'll yell at me, and sometimes that's what you got to do.
Yeah, and you get it out, and then the next day you're calling each other saying, "Hey, I got a new opportunity,"
love
you.
It's part of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, there's no such thing as a perfect marriage.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does not exist.
Right.
And Leah and I always say this. My wife Leah, I always say this. If you have a marriage where there's never any bickering or fighting, something's wrong.
Yeah, something is off.
Right.
I totally agree.
I think something's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. What is next for you, and what is next for WCRE? Where do you see yourself or the company or both in the next 3 to 5 years?
So I'm 53. I love I love my job probably more now than I ever have. I think that's just because I'm appreciating the journey.
Yeah.
Tremendously.
Yeah.
I have no plans to slow down anytime soon. So if you were to say how long are you going to go, until you can't. Until I can't.
Right.
Look, do I want to be 85 doing this? Absolutely not.
No.
But can I see myself going full speed ahead for the next 10 years? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's still very young.
So I have no intention to slow down. I do want to continue evolving the company. I am enjoying the ride of the change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And, I look at people that I know in our marketplace that are the real estate companies, but they're not evolving.
Right.
Right?
It's very.
And that was probably, when I left my old firm, that was probably the biggest reason was I really believe in business.
Mhm.
We're seeing it now in this new world we're in. You got to keep growing and evolving.
Yeah.
And I want this firm to keep growing and evolving. I am blessed to be able to go to bed at night knowing I have a team fully supporting the success of this firm.
Mhm.
I had a business coach many years ago that taught me systems, processes, and procedures.
Mhm.
And if you die, God forbid, can the company survive?
Yeah.
And I can say with gratitude
Mhm.
that God forbid something happens to me, this company will still go on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It will
Mhm.
not shut down.
Right.
So that part makes me very proud.
Mhm.
Where are we going from here? I think just keep growing, keep building our platforms out. You know, we're running 2 companies under one roof. We have
Yeah.
a property management company, we have a brokerage advisory firm. We have terrific clients. We've grown into Central North Jersey.
Mhm.
We started in New York last year.
Yep.
We're actually closing a really nice deal in New York. Eric's doing the deal this week. It's going to close. I'm excited for him.
Good. That's exciting.
So he's been working on forever.
Yeah.
So nothing happens quick in this
No,
business
it doesn't.
anymore.
You have to really
Yeah.
build a pipeline and
You gotta
build those
build a pipeline,
relationships.
which we didn't talk about,
Yeah.
but that goes with relationships.
Yeah, it does. Yep.
So yeah, I think just keep on the course we're on. Continue listening to everyone here to keep making the company improve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you, and I'm happy that you took the time to join us.
This was
I
fun.
know it was a long time putting it together, but I think it's really important for everybody to get to know who Jason Wolf is outside of just our logo, outside of WCRE. And I appreciate you spending the time with us and talking about WCRE and how you started and trends, everything. I feel like we've touched on everything today, but it was all really, really important. So I appreciate all of you for hanging out with us and watching, and we'll see you next time.